Welcome back, guys. So today is the day that we've been waiting for, the re-review of the Brawler 64 from Retro Fighters, the ultimate Nintendo 64 controller. So if you recall, back in March, I believe it was, I initially reviewed this, did a series of videos, and I was not a fan. I had really high hopes. I was a very early backer, actually backer number 24, and I was super excited to get this. When I got it, I discovered there were issues with the L button touching the analog stick. The L and R buttons were connected, and it was just kind of odd. If you pressed one, you had your finger on the other, you could feel it, and occasionally there would be some kind of interferences there. For some people, they didn't mind. For others, it bothered them. Myself, it bothered me to no end. I just could not enjoy using this controller. So those issues were heard loud and clear by Retro Fighters, and they immediately said, hey, we're going to work on a fix. We want to make sure everybody is happy. So now, if you were a Kickstarter backer, you had the option a while ago to either opt for a replacement or to get a replacement piece to fix the controller so you would no longer have those issues. They also had another option. Hey, if you didn't care, you could just get a coupon code for some money off of some other controllers. So they kind of covered all the bases there as far as what people would need to be satisfied with this. So I'm super happy to get this today and to give it another shot. So that's what we're going to do here. I was a backer. I did back their second one as well because I had faith. And today I'm going to be straight honest with you. Once we open this, use it and test it out. If it's garbage, I'm going to let you know. If I recommend it and I love it, I'm going to let you know either way. I was brutally honest the last time, and I'm going to be brutally honest this time. So a lot of us were really hopeful for a controller like this because the original system's controller, some people have some issues. I still like this, but as you got older, maybe your hands got bigger, it is kind of clunky to hold. The flaws behind this was the analog stick. This one's really tight. This is almost a new controller, but the analog stick over time would give out. The way they designed it, it's ridiculous. There's a cup under there, and as it moves around, it actually grinds the cup and it becomes loose, and then you'll have a saggy analog, and it just sucks using it that way. Very hard to get replacement controllers that are in tip-top shape. Third-party controllers, just the range of motion on the analog, the feel, just not there. So this is where we're at today. Is this going to be the ultimate controller? So before we unbox this and test it out, what we're going to be doing is testing on this system here. And just to point out the way I'm going to record this, I'm actually going to use the RetroTink. We're going to be doing a future video on this. I just wanted to point this product out. You can get this, I believe they're sold out at this moment, but you can get on the wait list on castlemaniagames.com or go to RetroTink's website and get the most up-to-date information. I'm telling you right now, I love this thing. Works great to play all your retro consoles on your HD TV, either using composite S-Video or component. Today we're going to be using S-Video on the Nintendo 64, and I think the results are pretty great. So just wanted to point that out. We're going to be using that. Now, with this controller, we're actually going to take it apart as well. I want to see the inside of it. I want to see specifically how this was changed. First, we're going to unbox, test it, and then we're going to come back. So stay tuned for that. We're going to open this bad boy up and take a peek. So let's go ahead and get this guy open. Same packaging. Let me double check, see if there's anything on there that signifies this is the version 2. I don't think there is. I think it's just all the same packaging, which is fine. The only issue that I could see with that is going to be on the secondary market. You're really going to have to ask people if you're going to buy a used one off of eBay or something, which version they have, because I don't see any clear markings to tell you otherwise. The box looks pretty much the same. Get that out of the way. We do get the little manual with the little thanks and all that stuff in there. We don't need that for anything. Now the moment of truth. Huh. The buttons feel good to me. This is a light controller. You know, I think we mentioned that before, but it feels good and nice. The inside, I did have an issue with this. I don't remember pointing it out or not, but the slot for the rumble pack or memory pack, the button here, it was like crooked. The little locking thing, for some reason it was crooked, but on this one, it looks perfect. So that is a good thing there. But everything's feeling good. Can't really complain, right? We have to test it out though. We have to see if this thing actually works. If all the buttons register properly, if we have that issue with the L button, which we don't, I can tell. Nothing is grinding. These aren't touching. They're not one piece anymore. They're both individual pieces, so I can immediately tell that from pressing these buttons. So that's definitely a good thing. Let's go ahead and do a quick weight test. You know, we like to weigh crap on this channel, so let's see what with the cable, what this controller weighs. 6.5 ounces. That's with the cord. Let's take an official Nintendo 64 controller. And we are at 8 ounces, so 6.5 and 8 ounces, very similar. This is slightly lighter, which I don't think is a big deal. It is kind of a smaller controller anyway. So now that we got all that mumbo jumbo out of the way, let's go ahead and hook the Nintendo 64 up and test this controller, and I'll give you my impressions on it, and then we'll come back, open this bad boy up, and see what it looks like on the inside. So let's do it. Okay guys, so I've been using this controller now for a few hours. I didn't record everything. I didn't want to make this video extremely long, but this game in particular, Quake 2, was a game I was playing quite a bit when this controller was originally released. And I wound up having issues where, you know, a lot of people, they said, you know, the L button issue wasn't a problem. That's fine if it wasn't an issue for you. For me, the way I looked at it was, you know, this controller was, you know, designed to be more comfortable. Everything's easily accessible, and just, you know, bringing the Nintendo 64 controller, you know, to the next generation of style of controllers and making it something easier to use and comfortable, right? So with games like this, the L button is automatically mapped to mimic the R button. And for me, it was more comfortable using it that way. So an issue that I would have is the L or R button in this game is used to jump. Now, if I was doing some jumps to try to get to like a special area or something, I would come across the issue where, you know, the L button would grind into the analog stick depending upon, you know, how I was jumping and how I was moving. And now that they fixed that, I'm not feeling any of that grinding whatsoever. There's no issue. They changed it up good enough to where it's just not touching. And, you know, you're not getting that little wobble between the two buttons. I like to rest my fingers on those triggers, on the shoulder buttons. You know, even when I'm not using them, I like to rest my fingers there. And I don't have any issue with that. Obviously, we shouldn't, because they changed it from one piece to two pieces. And right now, you know, I'm not really playing this game to play it. I'm just testing the buttons. But our analog, everything is fine. The response is good. The range of motion, the sensitivity feels good to me. You know, the C buttons are all, you know, working properly. The A and B button is fine. The D-pad registering just fine. Both of the Z buttons, which you use to fire in this game. Then the L button, jumping, using the analog stick and jumping as well, is working fine. The R button, everything is good. And I do have the rumble pack inserted, and it's working fine. I'm getting rumble right now, so that works great. In other games that I've tested, I've used the memory card. Memory card works just fine. So definitely, I'm super happy that they listened to us about these issues. I'm not having any problem whatsoever, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing here, because like I said earlier, you know, using original controllers is fine. I still like them, but it's just so hard to maintain them and keep them in good condition, just because how the analog stick was designed. Over time, if you're continually using your controllers, they're going to give out with that analog stick. And using third-party clone controllers, just really hit and miss. I've never used one that was worth a damn, and I'm not much of a third-party controller person, so I had to accept with the Nintendo 64, I'm gonna have to find a replacement at some point. And this was the controller that I was hoping was gonna meet that need for me and for many other people, and it for me it didn't at first. But with this revised version, I'm extremely glad and happy to say it's everything I wanted it to be. No issues. It feels good in my hands. It doesn't feel, you know, overly cheap or anything like that. You know, everything's responding. I like the way the buttons feel. I could definitely get used to using this as my main Nintendo 64 controller. I'm actually really excited for the clear, transparent ones to come out, because I'm getting the green ones, and those match my Nintendo 64, so that's going to be really sweet. So I don't really want to take a bunch of time playing a bunch of games. Like I said, I've tested off camera a bunch of games just to really get a feel for this and see if there's any issues, and it is getting an A+ from me. I am super happy that this is working. Wow. I don't know how many other ways to say it, guys, but definitely recommend this. I know on the Retro Fighters website it says it's in stock and available and you can order from them. CastlemaniaGames.com, they typically sell them as well. I'll put links to both of them in the description if you want to peep this out. I think it's definitely a must-have for any Nintendo 64 fan. So highly recommended from me, guys. Highly recommended. I'm glad I waited it out. It was very critical the first time, and I'm not taking any of that back. That's just the kind of person I am. I'm critical when something bothers me, and I gotta make it known. So now it's been rectified. It's been fixed. I'm super happy. Now for the little bonus at the end of the video here, let's go ahead and dismantle this controller and take a look at the inside. Let's do it. Okay guys, so let's speed through dismantling this bad boy. So let me take my rumble pack out. We do have 2 screws on the inside of here, if you can see that, on both sides. Right here we do have to either remove or just puncture through the QC sticker. I'll probably just remove that later, but those are going to be the screws we need to remove. Okay guys, the one thing I do want to point out is as I'm removing the screws, I'm placing them in a pattern how they came out so I can match them back up. But the 2 in here, in the little slot, make sure you don't mix those up because they are a different length screw as the others. So just wanted to point that out. Now, if I remember correctly, to open this, you had to push the Z button down. So there we go. So we have a couple screws here. So the pads for the triggers, they're kind of clamped in there. And you kind of got to be careful. You don't want to disconnect the wiring or anything. So just be careful with that. They just kind of clamp I don't know if you can see that. They clamped in there. So this is the inside. And I guess I think I misspoke when I talked about this being two separate pieces. But I see now how they actually did it. So I think this is fine just as well. It still is one piece. I'm shocked. I thought it was going to be separated. I guess I was wrong. But it doesn't matter because now, actually what we have is this little brace piece that supports it. And what that's doing is essentially it's breaking it in half to where it's two different pieces, but there's still, it's using that middle piece to clamp that down and to use this extra plastic that's connecting it. So essentially what it's doing is connecting the L and R to this middle piece and using, you know, the curvature and the little screw posts there with this plastic to give it the spring action. So that I'm surprised. I thought it was one piece, or two different pieces, but the way they did it this way, it works just fine. It doesn't, you know, one button doesn't trigger the other button to move because of that piece bracing everything. And then the other thing that they changed was, as you see, the curvature there on the L button is a little different. So it doesn't have that hook. That little hook that used to be there, it's trimmed a little bit to make sure it doesn't hit the analog stick. So that's good. That's what a lot of people were talking about, modifying it themselves if they had to. I didn't want to do that, but you can see where it looks like there's this extra bit on here to, let me see. Okay, yeah. That's good. That's good, because I almost thought, oh my God, I'm gonna have something to complain about, but no, I don't. There's this little bit of plastic here that's like, if you scrape your finger over it, I don't know how well you can see that, but there's a bit of plastic there, and that's actually to make sure that this does not come up. So it actually, on the other half, it would hit the top of here, if you can see that, to make sure this button doesn't pull up. So you can't pull this button out when the controller's fully put together. So very interesting design changes there. I wasn't 100% what they were doing. I thought it was going to be a little different than this, but hey, it works. I don't care how they made it work. I'm not having the same issues I had the first time. And these little tiny design choices that they made to change this up seems like it fully has fixed the issue that I had. So definitely super happy with that. Highly recommend this controller. Really do appreciate you guys coming in. I'm glad I got another chance to give this controller the justice it deserved. It was very critical the first time, and I'm glad this time I didn't have to get crazy with it, guys. So all the links will be in the description if you want to peep this out. Thanks for stopping in. Smash that like button, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. And I will catch y'all next time. Peace out, bye-bye, and boom!